Welcome to my channel, Midsummer Myths, where you find stories like no other, packed with twists, drama, and unbelievable moments you won't forget. She thought shooting at a disabled veteran would make him go away, but she didn't realize who he really was, or how far he was willing to go for justice. It started on a humid July afternoon in Pinewood Estates, a neighborhood where lawns were trimmed to regulation height, mailboxes all matched, and the HOA board believed they were the crown of civilization. Into this quiet little bubble rolled Sergeant Daniel Hayes, retired Army Ranger, Purple Heart recipient, and a man who'd given 30 years of his life to serving his country. Daniel had moved into his late father's small, single home on the edge of the community. His father had passed a year ago, leaving him not only the house, but a lifetime of memories inside. Daniel had lost part of his mobility in Afghanistan. Shrapnel had damaged his spine, and he now used a custom wheelchair that he maneuvered with quiet precision to Daniel. Pinewood Estates was supposed to be a place to recover, to be close to family, and to finally rest. But to Karen Matheson, the self-proclaimed community standards enforcer, Daniel was nothing but a blemish on her perfect picture of suburban order. The first encounter happened the morning after Daniel moved in. He was unloading boxes from his pickup when Karen, in her oversized sun hat and clipboard in hand, marched straight up his driveway. "Excuse me," she said, tapping her pen like a judge's gavel, "but that truck is not approved for long-term parking here." Daniel gave her a polite nod, told her it was temporary, and went back to work. But Karen didn't leave. She started inspecting his lawn, peering at his wheelchair ramp, and muttering about unsightly modifications. By week 2, she was filing official HOA complaints over his truck, the color of his front door, even the flagpole in his yard where he flew the stars and stripes. The flag that had been with him on 3 tours overseas. One evening, Daniel found a note taped to his door: "Your presence here is lowering property values. Consider moving." But the boiling point came one sweltering Saturday afternoon. Daniel was watering his roses when Karen stormed up again, phone in one hand and a small revolver in the other. She claimed she'd seen suspicious activity, by which she meant Daniel having a few veteran friends over for a barbecue. Words were exchanged. Daniel told her to get off his property. Then, and Daniel would later tell the police, this with disbelief, Karen fired a shot into the dirt, just inches from his wheelchair. The whole neighborhood froze. Asterisk, if you ever want to know what real fear looks like, it's the moment a neighbor decides they can play sheriff with a loaded gun. Daniel's first instinct was pure training. His military reflexes kicked in even though his mobility was limited. He didn't panic, didn't flinch. Instead, he looked Karen dead in the eyes and said, "Put the gun down before you ruin your life." Karen didn't lower it. She stood there shaking, muttering about how people like you didn't belong. Here, that phrase cut deeper than the shot she'd fired. A couple of neighbors came running over, some to check on Daniel, others to see the drama. One man tried to reason with Karen, but she waved him off. She kept saying Daniel's house devalued the neighborhood, that disabled people shouldn't have special privileges. Someone had already called 911. Within minutes, 2 squad cars pulled up. Officers stepped out cautiously, hands near their holsters, and ordered Karen to drop the weapon. She finally set it down, but not before giving Daniel one last glare, like this was somehow his fault. The police separated them immediately. Karen was ranting to one officer about HOA rules and community image, while Daniel calmly explained his side to another. The officer listening to Daniel was a young woman who'd served 2 tours in Iraq before joining the force, and the moment she heard disabled veteran, her expression changed out. Karen was detained for reckless endangerment and unlawful discharge of a firearm, but she was out on bail by that evening. That's when the smear campaign started. HOA newsletters began to warn residents about Daniel, painting him as aggressive and disruptive. Flyers appeared on doorsteps claiming he had dangerous friends. Daniel had seen combat, but this was different. This was personal. He'd been trained to defend his country from enemies abroad. Now he was facing one in his own neighborhood, and he wasn't going to let her win. Sometimes revenge doesn't require force, just precision, patience, and the right allies. Daniel contacted his lawyer, a fellow veteran named Mark, who specialized in civil rights cases. They began documenting everything: the notes, the flyers, the HOA meeting minutes. Daniel even installed discreet cameras around his property to capture every interaction. At the same time, Daniel reached out to a few local veterans organizations. They rallied behind him, organizing peaceful flag-raising events in his yard. Every Saturday, dozens of veterans in full dress uniforms lined his property, saluting as the anthem played. The media picked up the story. Headlines read, HOA targets disabled veteran over wheelchair ramp, and local hero harassed in suburban community. Karen hated it. Every time she left her house, reporters were nearby, asking for comments. HOA meetings turned into shouting matches, with half the board demanding she step down. But Daniel wasn't done. He filed a restraining order, ensuring Karen couldn't come within 200 feet of his home. And then, with Mark's help, he prepared a lawsuit for harassment, defamation, and emotional distress. Justice, when done right, is as satisfying as the sharp click of a rifle bolt locking into place. The lawsuit hit Karen like a freight train. She tried to paint herself as the victim, but Daniel's security footage told a different story. Crystal clear video of her trespassing, pointing a weapon and firing. The court sided with Daniel. Karen was ordered to pay damages, legal fees, and attend mandatory anger management classes. Worse for her, the HOA's insurance wouldn't cover her since the board officially distanced itself after the incident. Within months, she sold her house at a loss and moved out of Pinewood Estates. Entirely. The same neighbors who once whispered about Daniel now stopped by with pies, beers, and apologies. Daniel. He kept his father's home, his ramp, his flagpole, and his dignity. Funny thing about devaluing the community, turns out it wasn't the veteran lowering the value. After Karen left, Pinewood Estates actually saw property values rise. The flag-raising events became a neighborhood tradition. The HOA even passed new bylaws protecting veterans' rights to display flags and make accessibility modifications without board approval. Daniel never sought revenge for the sake of it. He just wanted peace. But in defending himself, he'd ended up protecting countless other veterans who might one day move in. How did you like this story? Let me know in the comments below. And don't forget to like this video and subscribe for more incredible stories from Midsummer Myths.